Hi everyone, I'm Maria. I'm the UX UI designer for BlockMaze. A little bit about me, I'm an IT risk management specialist by trade, and I've been a blockchain enthusiast since 2015. So I'm really excited to be here today to present to you this project. These are the topics that we're going to go over today. I partnered with Miami International Bitcoin, which is a local startup here in Miami, and we aim to design a website that will serve as a networking platform for the blockchain community, specifically targeting blockchain startups and bringing attention to Miami as a blockchain hub. PwC conducted a research this past year to understand what were the biggest barriers to blockchain adoption, and one of them was the inability to bring networks together. So I did independent research to understand the users in this space and their needs so I could find opportunities to improve the networking process. I use the Lean UX Canvas to help guide me through this process. And I perform a competitive analysis to understand where Miami International Bitcoin lies in this market and where they should aim to be. The research was particularly difficult because this is a very immature industry. So I looked into some products that were going to go into production and compared them to some traditional networking sites. Found that the most common ones are the ones that actually have more of a decentralized approach to the information that is being provided. I also completed 30 surveys, specifically targeting blockchain startups, and the responses were well-rounded, representative of Florida and outside of Florida, as well as some international responses. The majority of the responses were actually from executives, founders and CEOs, developers and such, which is not an easy audience to find. I also did 8 interviews. From the overall, in the past year, blockchain startups have been focusing on finding funding and partners to be able to execute projects. And the focus of the surveys and the interviews were really to understand the needs and desires of these users to be able to, in regards to funding, hiring, and events. I use an affinity diagram to help me digest the information that I have, to find the patterns and trends in these areas. And from that information, I came up with this user persona. Idealist Ian is a CEO. He is representative of the primary target audience of this future site. He is motivated by his vision to have a network effect with the product he is offering. He is a programmer by trade, but is currently focusing on finding his Series A funding. And he is very interested in a networking platform because network is his business. Like, he needs to have, networking is important to him to sustain his business, and he is tired of dealing with shady people. This is his journey map for the past 6 months. So from the beginning to starting to build his network, to finding funding to be able to start his project, to hiring a team to be able to execute his visions. There were pain points throughout all the journey. Overall, the resonating theme across all the interviews was the lack of trust in the network. And this was something that was consistent with the PwC survey results as well. The majority of the users use intermediaries to vet people that they interact with. And although there are multiple opportunities to bring interest to the people in Miami as a blockchain hub, the blockchain startups in particular are focusing on building relationships and products to bring credibility to the space and to be able to provide opportunity for people to connect at a global scale. So my hypothesis is that the number of established partnerships in Florida will increase if startups looking for partnerships attain resources by vouching for peers and while receiving crypto as an incentive for arranging useful connections. I use the Moscow method to be able to consider the features that are technically feasible, as well as the largest impact on the community that was being targeted. Similar to the proof of stake concept, if you're not familiar with it, is when miners stake crypto in order to validate transactions on the blockchain. Users would be able to stake crypto in this platform in order to validate the data of the members in the network and provide returns for those individuals contributing using connections in the network. This is just a user flow to help with the navigation design. And I created a low fidelity and mid fidelity prototypes in order to test the website. I'm gonna go through the details of the results a little bit later in the demo, but it did have an impact on the number of iterations that I had to go through in the prototype. From that usability testing, some of the major themes that resonated with these tech-savvy users is concerns over security and privacy. Improvements included over the navigation, layout, simple layout, and having constant feedback from the website. For the user interface, some considerations that came to mind is that I wanted to be able to have colors that were associated with security, intellect, and trust. And that's why I went with black, yellow, and blue. This is my inspiration mood board for the interface. And it was also tested through desirability testing with the target users, and all the reactions were consistent with the attributes that I was trying to convey. Trust, modern, collaborative. Except for like, what is up with the golden pineapple? The style guide is also consistent with the mood board and for the design. Now here's the demo. All right, so from the feedback that I got, education is very important. In order for the user to be able to trust the website in the first place, they would like to see what the website looks like from the very beginning. So having an interactive demo in the homepage is critical. They also want to be able to have direct access to the privacy considerations for linked applications, so they know where the data is going. The profiles web page was one of the ones that needed the most changes. This is just to show some micro interactions for the connection page. Going back to the profile, originally the users experienced cognitive overload. There was just too many buttons, not enough classifications. Ended up reducing it to a simplified extra menu that is hidden, that way they only find certain categories and certain things pulls up. They also wanted to be able to have a clear access to connections without having to navigate to the connection page. And they wanted to be able to focus the page on specific action that they wanted to work in. So for example, in this case, they are trying to, the user, Tony, is trying to validate the specific data associated with Carlos, and he's taking crypto for his specific data. They also wanted to be able to have easy searchable functions, as can be seen here, for when sending messages. And last, they wanted to be able to have a clear understanding of where they stood in the process when they were staking crypto. So if they were staking it for an introduction request, where they were executing, that's obviously very important because it has a monetary implication. Okay, let's see for that demo. Now, my recommendations from Miami International Bitcoin is to test the high fidelity design, since I was not able to, perform A/B testing on specific content. Other considerations include incorporating event connections, like when you interact with people at conferences, incorporating custodial disclosures with the regulatory implications of custodial activity, and leveraging open source systems so that we can encourage people to participate in the network, as there are many developers in this community. In conclusion, the success of this platform will be highly dependent on the number of users that join the network. Therefore, I advise you to closely monitor how many users get lost on onboarding, how much time is spent on the platform, what activities being performed during this time, and how many connections result in successful matches that earn returns. So, join the community, do something great, and if you want to learn more about this very real community, reach out to me. Thanks.